You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. Welcome to Now Hear This. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. Now Hear This is a conversation with leaders in Indianapolis that are working to improve the lives of Hoosiers. Our goal is to empower you to join in their work and make a difference while informing you about the unseen aspects of life in Indiana. If you miss an episode, you can listen via podcast at nowhearthisindy.com. We continue our series in support of our program, Brilliantly Black, here in Black History Month. Brilliantly Black features highlighting Black businesses and community leaders, and the U.S. Army is the presenting sponsor, and it is also brought to you by Real 98.3 and iHeart Indianapolis Media. I am talking today to Staff Sergeant Anthony Porter. He is a member of the U.S. Army and a recruiter in Anderson, Indiana. First, thank you so much for joining me, Staff Sergeant Anthony Porter, and I appreciate you being here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where did you grow up and how did you decide to join the U.S. Army?
So I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina. I was born about, I want to say 10 minutes away from Fort Jackson. So the Army background has always been, within my community. After I went to college, I went to Liberty University. I played football there. I majored in child and family development. And as I tell my recruits, sometimes life happens. And once that moment happened for me, I decided, I was familiar with the Army, some of the benefits. And so I decided to contact a local recruiter. And from there, 2 months later, I was off to basic training at Fort Leonard Wood.
Well, dare I ask what that moment of life was? You don't have to answer if you don't want to talk about it on the radio.
So that moment of life for me, I went through a phase where my oldest brother passed away. He had a brain tumor. So I just went through a phase of my life where I was lost. And as a young 18-year-old, I, needed to figure out what was the next step for me. And I decided the Army was an excellent opportunity for me to, to be that stepping stone to where I wanted to go in life.
So you decided to join the Army. I mean, did you see a TV show and that sparked the idea, or how did you get the idea that you wanted to join?
So I got the idea from a local recruiter that visited my high school. He will always, come in and speak with us. I knew I was going to college on a football scholarship, but I always kept an open mind because I always say never pass up on an opportunity. So I listened to the information that he provided, and when that moment happened for me, I contacted him, and the rest is history.
So when you start talking to a recruiter, I mean, you can talk about what it's like now versus maybe then. I mean, may I ask how long you've been in the U.S. Army?
So I've been in the Army, February 18th will be 12 years for me.
Okay. So when you walked in, what was your experience sitting down and talking with the recruiter, and what do you remember from that moment?
Wow. My experience, I was super nervous. However, the recruiter, he laid out information for me. I asked a ton of questions. He answered those questions for me. But I also had family members. I had two uncles that served. So they gave me some information, over my life. It was a great experience for them, both retired. So when I went in there, it was honestly a no-brainer for me. I knew I wanted to join. It was just going through the process of doing it.
So what did you do when you first, why don't we talk about basic training? Because I think that, everybody imagines Arlie Ermy and somebody screaming in your face and doing push-ups and like it being a very physically hard thing. Why don't you talk a little bit about basic training and what your experiences were like there, and how does that differ from what, is in the mind of maybe a 17-year-old out there that is thinking about this?
Okay. So for me, basic training, it was pretty fun. I say that to say I enjoyed the team building, the camaraderie, the stuff that I experienced throughout sports growing up. I got that same experience going through basic training. So I came from, college football. So the physical aspect it was pretty easy for me. However, the other aspects of it, as far as, being away from family, not having the phone, stuff like that I wasn't used to, it kind of forced me to come out my shell to be an extrovert and start to, communicate with other people from different backgrounds, different religions. And that's one thing that I guess I enjoy about the Army is that you're going to get that experience from, people from different parts of the country. And you're all going to come together. And I think basic training for me was fun time because a lot of, I guess, team building exercises that I enjoyed while I was there.
So once you leave basic training, what was your job? Where were you stationed? Where are some of the places that you've traveled in your time in the U.S. Army?
Okay, so once I left basic, I went to AIT, which is individual advanced training. I joined as a plumber because I wanted to trade during my summers from college football. I was working as a construction, a carpenter. So I left basic training. I went to Texas Shepherd Air Force Base. I stayed there for 7 weeks. Then I went to my first duty station, which was Anchorage, Alaska. I stayed there for 3 years. While I was there, I got deployed to Thailand, Micronesia, the Philippines. So we did a lot of humanitarian stuff in those different countries. We built the school, we renovated a hospital, and things like that. Once I left Alaska, my next duty station was Fort Stewart, Georgia, right outside of Savannah. I stayed there for 4 years. From there, while I was there, I deployed to Afghanistan. We did a 9-month deployment, came back, and I did search and rescue training. So we was the search and rescue team for the United States Army for 2-year span after that. Then I was sent to Fort Lewis, right outside of Seattle, Washington. I was there for 9 months, but I got recruiting orders shortly after I got there, and now I'm here in good old Indiana. So I'm loving it.
An adopted Hoosier. It's great to have you. Staff Sergeant Anthony Porter, who is a U.S. Army recruiter in Anderson, Indiana. And we were talking off air, and you've done all this while having a family, have you not? Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so I'm married. I met my wife in high school. I have three children, 14, 2, and yeah, my little one, he'll be 1 in next week.
Well, congratulations.
So it's been thank you. Yeah, having a family, it's been awesome. The most important thing that I tell the recruits, for me, making sure that my family is taken care of financially, medical benefits and education, things like that. The Army has really provided a great opportunity for me.
So let's talk about that because, I imagine, with the deployments and some of that can be difficult, but talk a little bit more about the stability that the U.S. Army has brought you. What are some benefits that not only are you offered, but extend to your children as well?
So one of those benefits for me, for our stability, I'm from my mom. She raised 4 boys as a single parent. So financially, it was rough. And, one of the things that I wanted to do in my life was, to provide my children a stable financial home that, their parents were, we were comfortable. And the Army has provided a pretty good income, for me to, provide a stable household, for my children to never go without food or anything that I've experienced growing up. And that's what I wanted, for my family. So the financial aspect, the medical benefits has been amazing. The Army has also provided me a great opportunity to put my children in a nice neighborhood, so I can provide them the best opportunities, put them in some of the best schools.
Sorry to cut you off.
I mean, that has really been the really stable part, the great benefit for my family.
So, I mean, when you sit down with somebody that walks into your recruiting post there in Anderson, Indiana, and if you're interested in talking to someone about this opportunity, you can go to goarmy.com/Indianapolis or text NDBB to Go Army. What's the first thing let's try this. I'm sitting in front of you and I'm thinking about joining the military. We'll pretend I'm not 37 and overweight. But I'm 18 and much more physically fit than I am now. And,
yeah.
I'm unsure about my future. You mentioned that, you're giving your kids a life maybe different than you had growing up or might have had if you hadn't had these opportunities. I mean, pitch it. Give me the elevator pitch. What do you say to somebody when they come in, and why should they join the U.S. Army?
So the first thing that when I get an applicant in, I ask them why. Why are they here? What made them walk through the door? And once we establish that, I talk about, what's your 3-year, what's your 5-year goal? What's your plans? What do you want to get out of life? What do you want to get out the military? And from there, we sit down, we talk about benefits, we talk about opportunities, we talk about the different jobs that they may be interested in doing. Then once we go through that, we go through the ASVAB, we put them on a practice test. If they need to increase their score, we got a program to help them do so. And from there, we just take them through the process. But for me, most importantly, I want to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're taken care of, that I'm answering all their questions. And especially when I got a 17, 18-year-old, I like to keep the parents involved because parents are a huge influencer. So I definitely want to keep the parents involved. But, I tell them, just try to figure out what's their interest and educate them on how the Army could benefit them in their particular area.
So if there's one thing that you wish everybody understood about what you do on a daily basis, what would that be?
Oh, man. One thing, I think most importantly, I always say we fight perception, the perception of the Army. Sometimes, a lot of people may say, I don't want to go to war, I don't want to die, so I just try to provide them the information, the knowledge that, hey, we have over 150 different part-time and full-time jobs. We have jobs from nursing to mechanical to an electrician to a plumber, like myself when I joined. So I just try to educate them on the opportunities to, expand their horizons about the Army.
Staff Sergeant Anthony Porter, if people want to come and talk to you in Anderson, Indiana, where are you located at? What's the location of your recruiting station there?
So we're located at 4433 South Scatterfield Road, Anderson, Indiana. Our zip code is 46013, and you can reach me at 765-338-8255. 9353, and I'll be gladly looking forward to help as many people as I can.
Staff Sergeant Anthony Porter of the U.S. Army, recruiter in Anderson. Be sure to go to goarmy.com/Indianapolis or text IndyBB to GoArmy. Staff Sergeant, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, sir.
Thanks for listening to Now Hear This. I'm your host, Chris Spangle. If you missed any portion of our program, you can listen on our website, nowhearthisindy.com. If you'd like to have your organization featured on the show, please email Gabby at nowhearthisindy@iheartmedia.com. Thanks for listening, and we will be back again next weekend with Now Hear This. In the span of 2 years, podcast advertising has become a billion-dollar industry. Why? Changes to social media and search engines aren't getting the same results as they used to. And let's be honest, why would anyone want to financially support them? Plus, the loyal audiences of audio brands have a better return on investment. Need more convincing on that? Look up Edison Research's Infinite Dial. As the longest-running libertarian network, the audience of the We Are Libertarians podcast network have been our partners in growth for almost a decade. We are looking for advertisers that will enhance the lives of our listeners, and we have only 6 slots available for companies that are looking to grow with us. Volume matters in advertising, and no other libertarian brand can offer you over 40 episodes across 10 shows a month while reaching tens of thousands of people for one easy monthly payment. It is simple. Email me now, Chris Spangle, at chrisspangle.com, and let us start supporting your business as you support ours.